Thank you so much, Dr.
You're
Linda. We are
welcome.
going to get to the rest of the questions in part two. Welcome to the Create Today podcast. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, certified rapid transformational therapist and hypnotherapist. And my passion is helping women heal from the past and learn how to create the life they love one day at a time. And this show is all about how you can do just that. My beautiful guest is Dr. Linda Marquez Goodine. She's back for Actually, this is round 3. This is the third time I've had her on my show because she has that much knowledge. But we're doing part 2 of menopause questions because so many of you asked so many great questions and we didn't get to them all in part 1 a few weeks ago. So thank you so much for Dr. Linda for being here. And thank you so much for your time and helping us, listeners and me, all of us navigating through what's going to help us feel the best.
Yes, I'm excited. This is my jam. I love, 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 love everything menopause. So, yeah,
No.
let's get to it. Let's help
Great.
some ladies be powerhouses.
Thank you. So one of them we didn't address specifically. We did talk all about estradiol levels, but one question was, what do you think about bringing the estradiol levels up to their optimal state that they had in their 20s and 30s? So she's talking about a 300 to 400 metric on your lab results. And I think what she means is a lot of doctors just keep the levels at a small, like a low, saying 100 is okay. You can
Hmm.
navigate those levels in your own self to feel your best.
Hmm. So that's where bioindividuality comes out. I always tell
Yeah.
people it's preference. It's like, you know, um, when you at this time in your life, it's just like, okay, do you prefer driving a Toyota or a Mercedes, or do you want a Nissan or a BMW? And I really believe that it's really a personal preference. Where do you feel comfortable? Because you can't always go based on labs. You really
Right.
can't. And having levels that high, like 200, 300, I haven't seen that in my practice. And I've tested a lot of women with estradiol. And I have not seen that. A lot of times they're doing really well between 60 and 80 to get those neuroprotective benefits. I've seen women at 100 and they're doing fine. So
Hmm.
once again, you have to come to bioindividuality and also absence of hormone replacement therapy. What are some other modalities that you can do to have the same physiological response for the body to react the same in absence of hormones? Because what it is, it's a therapy. It's hormone therapy. I wouldn't even want to say replacement therapy. It's a therapy. It's just another modality. Well, what's
Mm.
another modality that we can use instead of that? Say a person
Mm.
just says, I just don't want to use it. That's where lifestyle medicine comes in. That's where exercise can be used, especially lift, the LHS.
Lift
Lift
heavy
heavy
shit.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. The LHS come in. I just written an email based on that. It's just like, and I was at the gym yesterday training with someone, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. And she's looking at me like, I've never done that at, 50 some years old in her life. She says, I've never done this type of exercise. So it's like, yeah, but this is what we need to get more of a genetic response, an epigenetic response, where your genes are going to respond, the genetic expression is going to respond to the type of exercise that you can do. What else is there out there that's can do that? If you
Nothing.
look at an athlete, like if you look at, and I had this conversation with her, I said, look at Simone Bowles, was it Bowles, the Olympic athlete,
Mhm.
the gymnast. Look at her. She has, she's the epitome of explosiveness, strength, and power. Now, how did she get there? Did she do it by being a cardio bunny? 30 to 60 minutes on the, no, she did not. Those bones are strong in that girl's body compared to the long distance runner who looks emaciated. I said, so when we get and when you can start using that as a modality, just like women that are using hormones as a modality, that's a therapy. Why can't we use exercise as a therapy? So
Brilliant.
going back to your question, why don't doctors do that? Well, you can, but you have to figure out once again what works best for you. Because I have seen people on medication, on hormones, and they're taking minuscule levels and they're doing amazing. And then you have some that are at super high levels and they're doing horrible. So then you always have to go back and look at what are the other factors involved with that. Does that make sense?
I'm glad you said that because that's true of every single thing on our lab results. That's true of every single thing that in
Yes.
our life, everything that we consume, including what we read and watch, but also obviously the food that we consume and the water. And it's not, you can't single out one tiny little thing that's going to change your life. Not one of those things. They all work together. So I'm really glad you said that again.
Yeah. And your thoughts, you mean, and going back, this is your jam and you love this. And
Mhm.
can your thoughts make you sick? Absolutely.
Yeah.
1000%. So when we start to put those limits in and we think that you have to be on HRT, otherwise I'm going to fall apart, I'm going to get all dried up, I'm going to be hurting, I'm going to lose all my hair, then it's
Mm,
almost like you're setting yourself up for that. I'm not, you
right.
know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
that's a big challenge. It's a big mental construct with people, and it's always about comes back to a lot of their beliefs,
Yeah.
and you fight for your beliefs,
Yeah.
whether they're expansive or limited.
Yeah.
I want to fight for the expansive beliefs that I believe that our creator God wants us to be healthy, wants us to be vibrant, because we're of we can be a better use to this world, to this kingdom. There's a saying that a healthy man or woman has many wishes. They wish that they could do this. They're wishing that they're this, they have a lot of goals, all these different goals, you know. But the one person that's sick, they only have one goal. They only have one wish. That's to be healthy.
Feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Someone else asked, okay, so you decided to go the HRT route and get the bioidentical hormones. How long do you take them for the rest of your life?
That's once again an individual, it's an individual, I think, decision. I've gone off of them. I vary my modalities.
Hmm.
And it's like, you know what? I'm just not gonna take them. I'm good. I'm fine. And then there's times where I'll feel a little bit flat and I'm like, okay, well, let me give this a little try and not do them for a little while. But you know what I have found, even just with myself and with working with a lot of female patients, the biggest factor is going to be stress. That is
Mhm.
the number one factor, is
Mm.
stress. And we do have more of it from the physical, the chemical, the emotional stress. And if you ever notice, if you go on vacation, you eat anything and everything, and you're moving around, you're having fun, you don't even gain weight.
Mm-mm.
Why? Because you're just relaxed. You're not really, it's not bothering you that you're eating at 10 o'clock at night. you know
Mhm.
and it's just like you're relaxed. It's just like you're more in a parasympathetic state. You're in that relaxed, I always say it's rest and digest, whereas that sympathetic state is just like it's go 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 go, and that's such a catabolic state that your body's in breakdown.
Yeah.
So a lot really we got to go back and look at, we are in stress overwhelm, and thank God we say the elections are kind of behind us, because you could just feel the intensity. You could feel the energy. You can feel people, just the vibrational energy when you walk into people, into a place, or just trying to have a conversation. Do I talk to them about politics? Do I talk to them about God? Do I talk to them about this? It's just like they're so stressed about that. And
Yeah.
you can pick that up. Just like a dog can pick up fear in a person. And you know what? There's two people that they're like, I'm pissed off. I'm going to go after someone. They're going to go after the person that's stressed. They pick up that energy.
Mm. Yeah. And if you haven't listened to the part one with Dr. Linda, she goes in great detail about the three types of stress. And I urge you to listen to that one again, even if you listen to it again. I'm going to go listen to it again too. The emotional stress,
Mhm. The
physical
physical,
stress,
chemical, and emotional. Yeah.
chemical stress. Yeah. So we won't repeat it, but it's really, really important to understand the three top stressors and how to mitigate those, how to help you get back into the parasympathetic state, how to get into a relaxed state. Make sure you're getting all of the sleep. Um, you know, I can't remember if we really talked about sleep a lot, but I'd love for you to tell our listeners. Everybody goes like, yeah, you get 8 hours a day. We've heard, like heard all of these things our
Yeah.
whole lives. And in our 20s or 30s, I don't think most people even get close to 8 hours. I used to say, I'll just sleep when I'm dead.
Mhm.
I just run myself ragged, run, 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 run,
Me
run. But
too.
you can do that a lot easier when you're in your 20s and 30s. And then it's not such a good idea. Could you explain really quick the reason why sleep is so important?
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons for that. So by default, we are becoming more insulin resistance. And
Mhm.
we're becoming more inflamed as we get old, as we age.
Mm.
Okay. So it's easier for us to build muscle, to recomp our body when we're in our 20s and 30s, because we do have more muscle mass, we do have more estrogen, which is our testosterone, which we were getting from the ovaries and also the adrenals. As we're getting older, as we're progressing, it's just like we're not getting so much anymore from our ovaries. So now we have to go to that backup quarterback, which is our adrenals. Okay. Now, when it comes to us becoming more insulin resistance, us needing more recovery, one of the biggest mistakes I believe women make is because the number one thing that women come in to see me for the office is weight. It's not the vasomotors. I mean, they would be happy if they were hot flashing all the time, but they were skinny and at their high school weight.
Yeah.
Okay, that would make them happy. But I'm like, no, we don't want either. So because of that, what they do is they start overtraining and they start eating less, which is the opposite of what they need. And then, of course, that's going to impact your sleep as well, because you also become hypoglycemic in the middle of the night. And the body's like, I need energy for it, because your brain and your eyeballs always need energy because they're working all the time.
Mm.
So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see is women, they start to eat less and they train harder. And so that actually starts to interrupt with their sleep. So you go back and you're like, okay, so why is my sleep so off? You got to go back and look at those physical, chemical, emotional stressors. And we don't need as much volume when it comes to working out anymore, because now we are trying to get an epigenetic response, meaning if you do like power-based training and do those short explosive workouts, you're going to get so much more benefit. You're not going to be as tired and have that constant cortisol response that's going to interfere with how you sleep. So you want to go back and look at, okay, how much sleep do I need? Well, did I train harder today than I did yesterday? Was yesterday a leg day? Was yesterday just a flexibility day? You also have to look at everything. If there's, when I've had an emotional day, I'm like, I'll sleep 9 or 10 hours. It's
Mm.
like something did not go right. It's like I need more sleep. There's times like I'm just so excited and I've got I'm just in that zone of getting projects done. I'll probably be good like on 7 hours. So
Mm.
once again, there's always that 7 to 9 hours. Everybody's different, and just like winter time, we sleep more in winter time than in summer, just like we eat differently in the winter than we do in the summer. We're more higher protein, we're more animal based in the winter than we are in the summer, where we have more access to more vegetables and fruits and so forth. So sleep, it does play an important, absolutely an important role. Um, Everything that you start your day with will determine what the quality of your sleep is like. First thing is what? Get up, get a little bit of sunlight. Don't wear those sunglasses. Get outside for 10 minutes, put on the hat, and just go out, walk outdoors. You know, that's one of the best things that you can do. At nighttime, it's you start really preparing as for melatonin to kick in. And so that's where it's like, oh, the sun's starting to set. You want to cut your meals off by sunset. So do you see how there's these little strategies for sleep? Sleep is important. And like you said, a lot of people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's like, well, right now you're half dead and you can't perform at optimal capacity. I mean, look at it, military, young military guys, what do? You know, it's like they're sleep deprived and that's how they break them.
Yeah.
It's such a mental, fuck with them.
Mhm.
And seriously, when you and that's why you don't want to have a
That's the
conversation.
and that's the purpose of it.
Yes. You don't want to have a conversation when someone is tired, they haven't had any sleep, they're irritable. It's like, this is not going to go well.
Right. True.
We'll talk in the morning with I'm rested. I've had, my brain is firing off on all cylinders. And once again, during sleep, you have a lymphatic system, which really, it's like a lymphatic system for the brain, and you have brain cleansing going on. So sleep is important. Other things that I advise a lot of patients is try to sleep without a pillow. A lot of times just your head being tilted just a little bit flexion. I said you'll snore, you're not going to get that nice lymphatic, flow in the brain as well. So those are some things to look for. If you look at our ancestors, what did they sleep on? They
Nothing.
slept on their backs pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Never heard anybody say that. Sleep
what's
without a
that?
pillow. I've never heard anybody say that. Sleep without a pillow on your back.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
other strategies with, one of the biggest things that actually a lot of women, we always think that it's the men that snore a lot, but women, we snore a lot as well, but we're not even aware of it. And there's different apps that you can use out there. I know some women use an Aura Ring, your partner can even tell you you're snoring, are you talking in your sleep? And I have like full-on conversations in my sleep, I guess, from what my husband has told me. They don't happen too often, but he's like, boy, you're having some intellectual conversations. I'm like, who am I talking to, Einstein or something?
Who knows? I wish we could play them all back when we have
Right.
those dreams. I wish that we could video record them.
Oh, yeah. So some strategies that they
Yeah.
can do. Once again, how you start your day, and get up, go for a walk in the morning, get a little bit, get that circadian rhythm activated, with the colors of the sun. There's just a different color, so it'll activate, so you have that nice circadian rhythm throughout the day. Cortisol's high, starts to drop down, and as it starts to drop down, melatonin goes up, which allows you to sleep. So at nighttime, I mean, we have the most beautiful sunsets here in the desert. I think, they're absolutely just magical and just epic. Go and just enjoy that sunset. So that starts preparing that body for your sleep, making sure that you've had your last meal, within prior to sunset, if possible. Start turning all the lights down in at your home. That's what I love about those little Himalayan salt lamps, have them all over the house. 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, start turning off all the electronics in the home.
Mm.
A lot of people just watch TV all night long, or they're on their computer catching up with work, social media, so forth. You can also just set a timer on your, the electronic timer that's connected to your your internet. And it's like, okay, 8:30, shut her down.
Yeah.
What? No internet? No TV? It's like, no, sit down and read a book. Sit down and play do like a crossword puzzle, which is great for the brain, do some stretching, go and soak in the tub, do some meditation, do some rehab flexibility exercises. There's a lot you could do. I like to go do moonwalks, at nighttime and walk.
Mhm.
It's just so beautiful, and you're just out there just connecting with source. And the other day I always told one of my friends, I said, I'm getting ready to go for a moonwalk. She goes, that sounds amazing. I'm like, oh, it is. You should try it. So, those are
Mm,
some things that you can do, because sleep is important. We
yeah,
spend a big part of our life sleeping, so it is important.
need to.
Yes.
Are you are you familiar with black cohosh or cohosh?
Let cohosh. Yes. Yes.
Someone asked, does black cohosh really work? But they didn't expand. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with it at all.
Yeah. So, black cohosh and vitex, those are two herbs that are often used for women for hormonal issues.
Hmm,
Um, it's supposed to help with hot flashes.
hmm,
What I have found that works really, really well are adaptogens. That's
hmm,
what I really would like to talk about, are adaptogens. You've heard of, and these have been studied by NAMS. So these have been thoroughly studied. So I try to work with herbs that have been studied a lot. But black cohosh, some women get great results with that. The vitex or chase tree berry. Some women have success with that. Um, Depending on where you are in your cycle is how you use them. So women like are in perimenopause, or like they swear by the Vitex, that's just the other name. And other women swear by the black cohosh. So once again, does it work? Some women swear by it. Some women say it doesn't, just like hormones. Some women have told me I've been on hormones and it did nothing for me. I have women that said and a patient came in and she said, I had a pellet inserted, didn't feel a difference, looked at her labs, no change in her labs. Once again, bioindividuality. However, what I have seen that works really well is mushrooms, some of the adaptogen and adaptogens. So you've got, like, the big one that's used a lot is like ashwagandha. So with ashwagandha, I I do recommend that. However, if you're on thyroid medication, you really have to be careful. So when it comes to working, just like medication, if you're going to work with herbs, don't just take herbs to take the herbs because you've heard of them or you go pick something up at the store. If you're on medication, you don't want to, especially like thyroid medication, you don't want to be taking ashwagandha. Okay.
hmm,
So how these adaptogens and how they work is they impact what's called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. Now, the adrenals, once again, as we are, as we're progressing in age, that's your backup quarterback to make your estrogen, but it also makes cortisol as well. So I really believe that I've seen women do just as well with that, and with literally hardly any side effects.
hmm.
So I don't know if that's something that that you consume at all, but like ashwagandha, once again, you can cycle them as well. So I have a lot of patients cycle them from 4 to 6 weeks, like ashwagandha. That's more like calming.
Right.
I always say she's more of a calming herb and calming adaptogenic herb. And you want to use about 300 to 500 milligrams a couple times a day.
And
So
what exactly is quote adaptogens?
and an adaptogen is basically your body, it brings to your body to adapt to what needs to be changed at that time. there's an intelligence of that. It's just like when um we say like dogs sense something. There's just like this intuitive intelligence. Well, our body and our cells have that as well. It's like, we're not going to need this. It's just like, a dog's not going to eat grass. They're going to spit it out. And it's like if you eat something that tastes horrible and your body just doesn't agree with it, it's like, oh, it's almost like you spit it out. So you could
Yeah.
think about an adaptogen the same way. It's like the body's going to it's going to use what it needs.
Hmm.
So ashwagandha is very calming. Um, Another one, I wrote out a few of them that I wanted to share and talk about. The other one that is, and that's just the one that is a hormone precursor. So I really like that one. And you also have like holy basil. That's
Right.
so people that can't use ashwagandha because they are on a thyroid medication. And also, some of the studies are finding that women that are um, once they hit menopause, you don't want to have them on thyroid medication that's a combination of a T4 to T3 because that can create some cardiovascular issues. So you have to really be careful with that. So I just kind of wanted to mention that. But
Mm.
there's holy basil, also known as the Tulsi. The Tulsi one, you can use like 500 milligrams that a couple times a day. That's also calming. Shishandra for women that are in menopause is another one that, and that's a little bit more stimulating. So you kind of like, women go through that wired but tired phase. So you can actually use both. But there's some that are stimulatory, like Shishandra is a little bit more stimulatory. You don't want to use that at night.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of studies on particular like ashwagandha, the rhodiola, Shishandra, and Tulsi. So those are for the fair. Oh, and maca.
Mm.
So maca is another one that's really, I use it every single day. And I remember when we went to Peru several years ago, it's just like we had our little shakes in the morning. We were at a retreat center. And so we would have our shakes and they would just blend like coconut milk, banana, and I think it was like a piece of avocado, and then they would put some maca in there. And there's different types of macas. There's red maca, there's black maca, there's yellow maca. And red maca is more for women and feminine hormones, and black is more for men. And then you have yellow that's just more for the whole, it's more generic. So there's even different types of maca. So I use that every day as well. So that's very, very powerful. So the women that are going through that change of life, but also even if younger women that are trying to like now in their 30s, in your 20s, you're pretty golden. It's like, do you really
Mhm.
need a lot of supplements? Not really. You should just be
Mhm.
eating right. When you hit your 30s, you really have to pay attention what you're doing in your 30s because that's a precursor, that's a preview of what you do in your 30s, what's going to happen in your 40s. If you've struggled through and you're beginning to struggle through menopause right now or perimenopause and you're in your fifth decade of life, you always want to look back and it's like, man, did I take care of myself in my 30s? And that's why it's important that I really believe we should have this education, but they're not educating us. They're not educating women on what they need to do during this time.
Well, we are.
Yes, we are.
You just got to do it one person at a time, you know.
Yes.
But I agree. It just everybody, I think, just having the election behind us and just having some of the things that they're talking about, just health, even if you didn't vote for the person who won, I think all of us could be excited about the health changes and just taking a better look at all of the things that we kind of have been doing and
Mhm.
everything that seemed normal to us our entire lives, just taking a look at it and just
Mhm.
removing these toxins out of some of the food. I've never been so excited in my life just about that. Just if we
Exactly.
could please bring accountability to the people who make some of these things and hold them accountable, like just for not to get on a soapbox, but I mean, just an American company making two different types of Fruit Loops, and Fruit Loops is not healthy at all. But
Yeah.
what the fuck? Why are they making it better for Canada and worse for America? They are an American company. Even the great, great, great granddaughter of Kellogg himself is saying, I don't care if we make less money. I don't care. These chemicals are making people sick. The food dyes, they're making people sick. And so just to have those conversations and bring that awareness to the things that are in the foods that are in these boxed processed foods is huge. It's an eye-opening for millions of people that may not have even realized it yet. And now they're realizing it. So then you get the education, you can make better choices and hold all
1,000%.
these
Yes.
companies accountable. They shouldn't be putting that
Yeah.
shit in there to begin with.
Oh, I'm in agreement with you 1,000%. And one of the things that has been coming up with just health in general
Mhm.
has been, and I always hear that, well, let's just lower our prescription prices. And I'll have these conversations with some of my patients. I'm like, oh, so you're complaining about you don't have money, you can't afford it, you can't afford to eat healthy, yet you're drinking wine every night and you're eating out every night.
Right.
That just doesn't make sense. I said, instead of lowering prescription prices, why not lower the possibility of us needing them by finding out why do we need, what is the number one, two medication that we're needing has anything to do with blood sugar and metabolism. Well, what's causing that? Once
Right.
again, as you said, well, look at these chemicals that are put in the food, and now it's very profitable. Sickness is profitable, just like these big tobacco companies have purchased these food giants because wow, they have a customer for life. These kids they didn't start smoking cigarettes until maybe I don't know, 9, 10. You're a teenager, and most teenagers try smoking.
Mhm.
But you can feed a 6 month, 9 month, a toddler junk food, and you've got them for life. Maybe they'll never smoke, but you've got an addict to all these neurotoxins and the chemicals and the crap in the food that these food giants are putting in there you're setting them up for failure. And so that's what we have to look at. And like you, I'm excited about, let's just go back to the basics. And even with women, when it comes to women's health and hormones, I said, you have to eat real food. You got to eat real food. Those are the strategies that we are looking at. And the two biggest strategies that we can look at is one, what are you eating? I'm about eat protein. Eat protein, protein, protein. If you want to sprinkle in there and have some carbohydrates and have some vegetables and have some fruits for microbial diversity, if that's what your body needs, then eat it. There's women that I have put them on a 100% animal-based eating template, and they thrive. And then I have some that they are doing animal-based. They sprinkle a little bit of fruits and vegetables, and they do great. And I have some that do a lot of plant-based, and they don't. They do, they get bloated and so forth. So everybody's a little bit different. Once again, it's about your menopause, your health. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. And that's why working with a practitioner is super important. There's a foundation that we can build, which is always going to be nutrition. And I always believe protein, protein, protein. Because all these trillions of cells that we have in our body are human cells, but they all need protein. Protein is the backbone. Yes, and they have fats as well for that barrier, that lipid barrier. So if you can do that, oh my gosh, you're going to do great. And then the LHS for women. We absolutely need that. You create an epigenetic response. There's nothing else that is going to do that. Exercise does that. You can look at two different people and you could see, oh, this one does power and strength. This person has power and strength. This is more of a longevity or a long distance runner. And once again, kind of going back to all that, we don't need volume when it comes to exercise. Inherently, we women, we already have that endurance. we can last for a long time.
Yeah.
We need the short, explosive sprint. Let's go. We don't have that, but we can build that.
Right.
And if there's only two things that women walk away with from everything I've talked about, it's going to be eat more protein, 1 gram per your body weight or ideal body weight. To number two, go LHS, lift heavy shit. If you can do those two, you pair those two up, it's going to change. It's impossible not to change. I bank on it. I'm like, I'm willing to bet you, millions on that. If you follow that, you just do that for 4 weeks and just get the crap food out of your, out of the home, out of your everyday lifestyle, you're going to do great. Stop
Yeah.
wasting your time with these little short exercises. And
Yeah.
women, when you get in your fourth and fifth decade of life, the frequency at the gym is going to be more, but the duration at the gym is going to be shorter. You don't have to spend an hour there. You can be done quickly. Go in there and do like the big one is like the plyometrics training. I don't know how much of that you do, but the plyometrics is like, jumping on a jump box. I think one of the biggest things that you can do is I did that yesterday with someone and it's showing them like doing the jump box training. I'm like, okay, let's set the timer for like 30 seconds. Let's see how many we can get in that 30 seconds. Jump on, jump off, jump on, jump off. We kept doing that. And let that be your base. I said, and you have a little heart rate monitor, so see how you're doing, let your heart rate come down. Boom, do that again. Try to beat the base number that you did. You don't want to do less. You always want to do better. If you can do a little bit better, you're doing great. If you're doing less, that means you're not recovering. You're not resting in between the sets enough. Shoot for 5 of them. You're getting the explosiveness of like moving your body. You're jumping on there. You're getting the stress on the joints as well. So you're incorporating that power in that strength. And I said, just make sure you're resting. Start with just 5 and have a goal of doing that 10 times. That can be a workout. And if you do
Right.
that 3 to 4 times, you're in and out of the gym. You can alternate it with battle ropes. That's the other thing that you can do. If you can't do a lot of the jump because of your joints. I'm like, well, you can do that with battle ropes. You can do like push-ups up against the wall. Those are some other things that, women can do that's explosive training. So those are
Yeah.
the two big
Love
nuggets
that.
that I think
It's true.
everyone needs to walk away with. And regardless whether you want to take hormones or herbs or vitamins, those are 2 things that every woman can do.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm just going to add something that was really helpful for my sister who just went to her naturopath and said, eat the protein first. So if someone's struggling with, they
Yeah.
always want starchy, carbohydrates food, which I did for decades. I was a carb addict. If anybody's struggling with that, she just said, eat all your protein and fat first. So if you got an avocado and some chicken, just eat that first. You can still have your carbs. There's nothing wrong with eating carbs.
Yeah.
It's just that it'll fill your body with what your body needs. And then you probably won't have any problem. You might not even have any room for the carbs, or you can have a few bites and be done
Yeah.
instead of having the main meal be all of the carbs. And so I thought that she thought, oh, that was really revolutionary. She had never thought of it that way. And
Yeah.
I'm just passing that along. I think if
Yeah.
anybody, you
And
know,
absolutely. And that works great. Like if a person's like, morbidly obese, they're like, oh, but I like my sweets. Like they did not become morbidly obese from eating meat.
right.
So when I work with someone like that, I'm like, okay, so if you're 275 pounds, 300 pounds, I'm like, your goal I said, you can have the donut, you can have the cookies, you can have the ice cream, you can have any of that. However, you first have to eat 275 grams of protein before you can have your donut, before you can have that. They're
And it's
not going to want it. They
you're not
don't
going to be able
want
to
it.
eat it. You'll be full of protein.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
Yes. And
So
they're
cool.
getting their nutrition. And the
Yeah.
reason we're craving that is because we don't have our nutrient sensors have not been tapped saying, I'm good, I've had enough nutrition. So when you don't have enough nutrition in the body, it's just like, things don't start working properly. So what do you want? You want energy. So how do you think you're going to get that fast energy? You're going to get the sugar.
Yeah.
So when you're getting that nutrition, it's like that's when you know if you start craving stuff something, it's like, I'm missing a nutrient. What am I
Yes.
missing? So that's where even organ meats, a lot of people don't like organ meats, but let me tell you, those are some of the best things. And I grew up eating certain organ stuff that will probably gross people out that they
Mhm.
don't use, but different cultures, they'll eat
Do.
everything from, liver,
The
intestine,
liver,
brain,
absolutely.
kidney, heart.
It's the best thing to eat. It has
Yes.
nutrients in it.
Yep.
Amazing. Another random thought I was thinking about restaurants. When you see it come out on your plate and it looks delicious and it looks grilled and it looks healthy and it looks very beautiful on your plate, people don't realize that a lot of that stuff actually comes already pre-cooked, pre-made. It is actually very manufactured and it's not necessarily not every restaurant, but
Mhm.
most restaurant food does come already with preservatives, with all those things. So I think even if you go to a restaurant and you're ordering grilled chicken and broccoli, it's going to have a lot more things than you think on it than you think. Well, if you just made it at home, if you just grilled your own chicken and steamed your own broccoli or, whatever, made your own salad or whatever. And I just wanted to point that out just in case, I used to love going out to eat. I still do. I love the social part of it. And I love meeting, meeting at restaurants with friends. And John and I went out to brunch yesterday for fun. There's very few restaurants that I even want to go to anymore, because I could taste the preservatives. I can taste the seed oils. I can taste that it's not fresh. I can taste that it's not freshly made at certain places. And so that's something that I just wanted to throw out there for other, also to look at if you're really struggling and you love to eat out, you can just find a few restaurants that make everything really fresh and stick with those, when you want to go out to eat. You don't
And
have to.
you're right, Karen. It is more of a social thing because
Yeah,
you go and I mean, God,
fun.
people did that when Jesus' time. It's like, man, they were
Of
double
course.
dipping and they were just enjoying food. And it is very, it's an intimate, it's very intimate for people to just sit down and eat and there's because it's a time of connection. And growing up, you grew up in a big family. Did you all sit down and eat dinner together?
Very rarely. So that's
Oh,
why it was really important in my phone,
mm,
and I was raising my kids. We always sat down for dinner every single night. Yeah.
yeah.
You can't even imagine what mayhem. I mean, I think you had a big family, but just double that. It was insane all the time.
Yeah. That was like the best time though. We would sit down and I was the only girl, but there were six of us. We all sat down at the table and we ate. And I mean, were some of the best memories of us sitting down and eating. We hardly ate out. My mom cooked with lard back in the day
Mhm.
until she got brainwashed that you got to use mazola and corn oil, And I'm like, gosh,
The
the food tastes
worst.
better when you use lard, mom.
It
So
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Propaganda and marketing is really has been a detriment to our health.
Yeah.
And yeah, we never ever hardly ever ate out at restaurants. We couldn't afford it. There's no way you're buying dinner for 12 people,
Yeah.
not even once a month, like ever, 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 ever. So we just didn't eat together, but we always ate homemade food.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to address this is I think I remember whose question this was. Why aren't doctors trained to treat symptoms versus labs? And is there anything different in your recommendations for a menopausal woman who's recovering from hormone sensitive breast cancer? So she's recovering from breast cancer.
Mhm.
And so it's a two-toned question.
Okay. So a couple things. We always have to look at who's educating or where's the money coming from in med school? Big pharma.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's always going to be about pushing medication. They have a prescription pad, and that prescription pad is for the purpose of matching a symptom to a medication. They're taught symptoms, not systems. That is how medicine is nowadays, unfortunately. There's money in making there's money in sickness. There's not money in keeping people healthy. There's not money in sitting down and having conversation with the doctor. They make money when procedures or with drugs or procedures are done in the practice. So doctors are not taught anything about exercise, are not taught anything about nutrition in school, which is really sad because that should be looked at as a modality as well as drugs.
It's the
That should
first
be their
thing.
first line of defense because I always say it's usually their lack of movement that contributed to the problem that they're coming to see you for.
Mhm.
Or their diet, what are they eating? I always ask that to the patients that come in to see me. How much they're moving, what kind of exercise they do, and what are they eating? What's their sleep like?
And how much water?
Always ask those three. Oh, I walk every day. I'm like, that's not exercise. I said, that's soul food. That's
Yeah.
food just, that's not doing anything at an epigenetic level to challenge you. So we start incorporating, I tell them, okay, start lifting, even it's just moving their body, using their body as weights. And then we start adding in and we go through the phases. So I really believe as doctors aren't taught that because it's not lucrative. Okay. Now, when it comes to a woman that is thinking, well, maybe you will have two sets of doctors. Absolutely never, ever, ever should you use hormones. Okay. The other one, especially because you've had cancer. Then you have the other one that's just like, oh, you're fine as long as you don't have active cancer. But then you've got to go back further and look at, well, why did I get hormonal, cancer because of my hormones? Why did I get that?
Mm.
Once again, when I talk to my patients, I said, hormones has a lot of mechanism. First, you have to look at where are they made? Are they even transported? And if they are transported, do they get into the docking site? And are they released to be used? And once they're used, I said, are they metabolized and excreted out of the body? Something happens somewhere in that whole pathway. It's like getting a car that's not working properly and it's a brand new car. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Something happened somewhere in the assembly line. Where was the error? Where do we need to fix it? It's no different with hormones. If it was really a hormonal issue, then every 20-something-year-old woman, when their hormones, they're healthy, they're vibrant, they would have breast cancer, they would have cervical cancer, right? They would because their hormones are higher in their 20s compared to their 40s. But why is it that you have more women in their 40s and 50 that have hormonal cancer of some sort? You've got to look at, well, I have to look at the systems that are impacted from the hormone distribution, how they're made, to how they're transported, to what happens when they get into the receptor site, if they're even available for that, or are they hanging out too long, or have they been used up properly? Are they being excreted? So you've got to look at that, and they are not taught to look at systems-based medicine. It's more symptoms-based medicine. And that's the difference with when you see allopathic practitioners, that is symptom-based, not symptoms-based, not systems-based. So
Right.
that's the difference there. And they don't
Yeah.
like when you ask questions because it takes time.
Yeah. They don't have the
It's
time.
sad.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Um, what are the top 5 things you can do or not do to lose the belly, get the sleep, and stop being so annoyed by people? It's a good question. So
So
number one, lift heavy shit. Two,
the
your second
protein,
one, protein.
get your protein dialed in.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. way
Yes,
up. Most
you
people
can
do not even
create,
have protein.
yes, you can create epigenetic changes with that, with
Mm,
actually with exercise, with nutrition, even with sleep. Getting, I was like, okay, try to get to bed, start winding down by 9 o'clock. Get to bed. Typically in our winter days, most of the time within 2 to 3 hours, the sun sets. What is that looking like? 8 or 9?
mm,
And in the summer, we kind of have, it's like we're going to bed later,
mhm,
our days are shorter or are longer because we have, more sun. So we get a lot more done, but we do all that to prepare for the winter months. So I would
mm,
say the exercise, the nutrition, the sleep, managing the stress. We have to have modalities to release stress because stress is inevitable. Everybody's
mhm,
going to have it in one form, the physical, chemical, or emotional. So, what are some modalities to use? Of course, you're an expert at this with hypnotherapy. I mean, that's been a godsend for me.
mm.
Thank
Me
you
too.
that you've helped me so much with that. A lot of people are they do their own self hypnosis for something negative in their life, and it's worry. And worry is for praying for something that you don't want to happen. So it's stress is a big one, and having ways to release that. And I believe like hypnotherapy, EFT, the emotional freedom technique, journaling, grounding, singing, humming. Those are
Dancing.
easy things to go and just go out and or soak in the bubble bath, get in a jacuzzi. I
Yeah.
do crazy things. I go and I walk, put my feet in the lake. It's super cold, but for me, it's just like I can't be pissed off. I can't be sad when that water's like, oh my gosh, it's cold.
Brilliant.
So you got to manage the stress. And I think
Mm,
one that's overlooked and that we really, really forget about a lot is the connection.
mm,
Connection and community, the CNC, because we were created to be in communities. We weren't created to isolate.
mm,
And so you need that connection. And unfortunately, too, and I see this with a lot of the young kids, and even some of the adults, they're like this with their phone.
mhm,
And it's one of the saddest things that, some of these kids don't know how to sit down and have a conversation.
mhm,
And so if we get the exercise, the proper movement, the proper food, the nutrition, we get the sleep dialed in, we get the stress dialed in, the stress management strategies dialed in, and we got the connection. You've got to have a connection. You have to have a community. I think that's why AA is is very helpful for a lot of people.
mhm,
We were out of the country, and um, it was really interesting as we were out of the country. We were in Mexico, such a different, the community and family is everything there. And people were just so much happier. And it was interesting. We were going out for a hike and we were going up towards the mountains for a hike. There's a lot of expats there. And this woman was like walking really fast, like she was rushing to go somewhere. And she's walking and she just said, "Oh, hello." And, in America here, a lot of times a person says hello to you, you're like, "What do you want?" But everyone's like, "Hi, how are you?" Buenos dias, good morning, great risings. And, and, she's just, she greeted us and we're like, "Oh, hello." She said, "Oh, you going up for a hike?" Like, "Yeah, we're going to go up to da 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 da." And she was just walking really quickly. And then there was another lady, same thing, and they both spoke English, and obviously they knew that we weren't from around there. Um, and they were walking into, we were wondering, like, gosh, where's she walking to? And there's other lady walking. They're actually going into an AA meeting, but they were like, they're almost like happy and excited to be there because they had
wow.
some community there.
It's
And I'm like, I
different.
think I want to go to an AA meeting. I said, I'm not an alcoholic or anything, but just for the community and for the connection and for you to really, you actually are talking with each other, not at each other, and connecting.
Yeah.
And how many times have you walked away like when you spent time with someone so wise, a grandma or someone that's lived life, and you're like, you just feel so full.
Yeah,
I think
indeed.
we're really missing that. And I really believe these young kids are missing that.
I
So
agree.
we'll have to instill that into into these kiddos nowadays. But yeah,
Right.
it's a little bit more challenging, but we got this.
Well, we've already been an hour and I think we got most of it, but do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
Okay. If you have to go, just let me know. Um, because it's autoimmune diseases. Um, it might be too long of a topic to answer quickly, but the question is Hashimoto's and all of these autoimmune diseases, what is the root cause and what is the protocol for treating?
Stress.
Is it really? That's what it all comes down to?
Physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. You
Wow.
can have the precursor in there. You can have the genes to, like, you're saying, well, my grandma had Hashimoto's, my great grandma, my great aunt, my great great, all of them have Hashimoto's. Okay. So they all had a genetic predisposition to an autoimmune condition. However, I always say genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Mm,
We're always, when it comes to autoimmune conditions, that's one of the things. It's just like stress is a big thing. So what does cortisol do? Cortisol is one, it does interfere with how the brain is firing off, and your brain is not going to fire off on all cylinders. Number two, it's also going to impact the gut. You're going to, especially like leaky gut, bacterial gut infections, and so forth. So I always see that. And if you look at a woman, why some women go through that postpartum depression, or they go through, a lot of them start to have autoimmune conditions right after they give birth to the baby, because it nowadays, it's not, it's a sickness, it's not natural.
mm,
Whereas it's totally against everything that what our ancestors did. They were out working until they had their baby.
hmm.
What a lot of doctors now, you don't want to be lifting anything. You don't want to be doing this. Just relax. You're laying in your bed. You're a high risk. You have a high risk pregnancy. So just go and lay in bed until it's time for it's like that goes against everything that our body was created to do.
Right.
And so coming back to autoimmune conditions, that's there's always I have seen with interviewing when talking to patients is like, well, when we have a conversation with them, it is almost like interviewing them. Like a lot of the times they know what caused it. And we
Mm,
go back in the timeline and we look at, ah, it was that divorce. It was that new job relocation.
mm,
This is what happened. Your mom or dad got sick.
mm,
You lost your best friend. There is usually 100% of the time, there is something that happened that was a stressful event that triggered that, which ended up, triggering that, turning on that autoimmune condition. So does it mean that for the rest of your life that you have to eat a certain way, you have to do things a certain way? I said, well, everybody, what I talked about, the exercise, the nutrition, the sleep, the stress, the community. I really believe those are the 5 pillars that we will be working on for the rest of our life if we want to have balance, if we want to have a beautiful life. Having an autoimmune condition is no different. You just get to learn how to um, create more stress management strategies. And I think that's where you're a master in that, and helping people with that, and going back and erasing those stories that are going in their subconscious mind. And it's just like it's in the background playing all the time, but they don't know. And I'm a true believer, that's where the hypnotherapy, that's where counseling comes in, that you've got to release that. You can do all the other things, but if there's those old stories that are ruminating in there, and you don't even know that they're ruminating in there, you don't know what you don't know. It's a blind spot that it's going to be very difficult. And
Yeah. And I think that, if you're not really familiar with hypnotherapy or just kind of not sure what it's all about, just try journaling and meditation and a bath, do all of the other things and just see how it works for you. And once again, hypnotherapy is a great tool to release things that are stuck in your subconscious that you're not aware of, just like Linda said. And it's a beautiful thing. And then it helps you regulate your nervous system, which is so important. And then I'm echoing everything that Linda said about your nervous system. If you're in fight or flight 24/7, and most of us are, and we don't realize it, we don't understand what the physical complications are happening inside our beautiful bodies. That are, our chemical sets, like you always say, our chemistry sets. Individual chemistry sets are firing off different signals that we don't want. It's going to be, cause physical symptoms at some point. And so nothing to be worried about. It's just how important it is to regulate your nervous system, get in that relaxation, mitigate stressors. And then you're doing lots of seminars, and you do free seminars, right? How does somebody get on your email list? Because your email you sent this morning was really informative and incredible.
Oh, thank you. They can just go on my website, drlindamarquez.com, and I have in-person seminars. I do webinars. I do open Q&As with, mostly a lot of the ladies, but that's a good
Yeah.
way. And, we're always just trying to put stuff online with, just little tips in 30 to
Yeah.
60 seconds that just like boom, 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 because we are busy, but some people
Yeah.
don't want to know the how. They're just like, just tell me what to do. I don't care what, the whole neurology,
Mhm.
physiology behind it. It's just like, okay, go lift heavy stuff. Well, what does that look like? Do, 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 do. Focus
Yeah.
5 to 8 repetitions, 5 to 6 repetitions, and have good form.
Yeah. Well, you're doing
So
an
that,
incredible job educating and serving and helping us navigate through all of these things inside our chemistry sets in the modern world. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for doing this again and taking so much time out of your busy day to help our listeners, my listeners, or your listeners now, educate themselves and empower themselves to feel better, because you and I desperately want that for everybody. And I know you do.
yes, yes. Thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you very much.
I'll put all of our social media in the comments, or not, what is it called? The description, whatever it's called, on podcasts and YouTube. I'll link everything so you don't have to take notes, and I will transcribe the whole thing, and I will put it on my website, createtodaytherapy.com. As soon as this is live, then all the transcript with all of these notes, so you don't have to take notes, will be there. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here and listening to my show. If you got any value at all, it would mean the world if you shared it and left a review. Remember, the only way to create the life you love is to take it one day at a time. Create today. God bless you.